Hey folks, I believe we're good to go. So as usual, please let me know if there's any kind of audio or visual issues that I should be aware of. In the meantime, I'm going to chill for a few seconds here and make sure everything is okay. But I think we're good to go. Stop that. All right. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I know it's a weird hour, but I wanted to give people in different time zones and who have different schedules a chance to partake in the Q&A. And I was going to be awake anyways. So let me just make a couple of adjustments here. Cool. Wanted to make sure that you saw that chair in the background. It's important. I could probably adjust the camera a bit. Alright, so this is our live Q&A. You can feel free to ask any question that you want, gaming related, not gaming related, whatever it might be. I can't promise I'll answer every single question, but I'll do my best. Let's see what we got going on here. So we will start from the beginning. Nick, typically how many times do you play a game before doing a review? Do you have a minimum requirement? Here is where I'm going to take a piece of advice and a quote from one Mr. Tom Vassell and say I play it as many times as I need to make a definite opinion and then give that opinion to the world, which might be any number of times. I might think that I need to play it again and again and again and again because I just have not solidified the opinion in my head. Something is just not grasping on there. Or I may only play it a couple of times and be like, whoa, okay, I got it. I know everything there is to know about this game, at least as far as what I need to know. You can't figure out every strategy nook and cranny of a game after just a few plays, but for me personally, it's at a certain point I'm just like, I got it. I got what I feel this game has to offer, and now I'm ready to make an opinion out of it. So that's going to change on a case-by-case basis. I can't give you a number. Epic, immersive, and thematic games for 2 players. Well, okay, let's see. I probably haven't played enough of those, but I would say Space Hulk comes to mind. 2 players only. Oh, Queen's Gambit. That's a good one. I feel like I'm saying hard to find games. For 2 players. I suppose it doesn't have to be 2 players only. Pathfinder, I feel like can have that. Pathfinder Adventure card game. Let me scroll down a bit. I just want to make sure the audio is working. Good stuff. For 2 players, epic and immersive. I've heard that I haven't played it, but the Horus Heresy. I do want to play that, and I've heard that's a pretty good. If you're into Warhammer, if you're, that's why I recommended Space Hulk as well. Yeah, those are a good place to start. I bet you Mage Knight's pretty good with 2 players because it'd be faster. Are you ever going to make a top 100 games of all time list, as in a new and updated one? Yes, that's going to be soon-ish. I hope to start it by the end of October because I don't want to wait as long as I did last year. Last year I did it, and because of my scheduling, it didn't end up finishing until the end of December, which ran right into my top 10 games of the year, which was weird. So I'd rather get that wrapped up quickly. I asked Tom about that because I wanted to make sure how many more top 100s he was going to do this year. And after his People's Choice top 100, that's going to be it for the year. So I will probably wait till after that and then start putting mine up. Just because I don't want to have too many top 100s going on at the same time, no matter what channel it's on. We all kind of watch the same channel, so. Let's see. I'm reading a long question. Alright, hey Nick, while watching Kickstarter news, I have noticed that you always mention titles you did previews before on your channel, not only those though. Is it part of your preview agreement, or usually there is not many interesting games to put on the segment? I wouldn't say it's part of my preview agreements, but just as a courtesy, I will mention games that are on Kickstarter that I've done a preview for. And yeah, there's not a ton of games on Kickstarter that I'm that interested in talking about. There's a lot of games on Kickstarter, not a lot that I'd be like, yeah, I really got to talk about this week. So it's usually not difficult at all for me to mention games I've done previews for, but also talk about games that I haven't done previews for that I'm interested in. They can coexist. And he says also, I don't believe you like all the games you previewed for Kickstarter campaigns. Wouldn't that be impossible? I don't like every game that I review. So, let's see. Nick, 3 a.m., what were you thinking? I'm not going to be awake. Well, I can't please everybody, Adam. Does your boss know about your YouTube channel? If so, could anything said here give them a reason to fire you? He knows about my YouTube channel. I doubt that he watches it. I don't know. I don't say anything that would get me fired. I did an unboxing the other day when I was supposed to be home sick, but I did make it very clear in the video that I was going to pass out as soon as I was done with it, and I did. It was just like the Kingdom Death Monster thing, and I wanted to get that knocked out. So, I don't know. I guess I'll find out one day. What software do you use to edit your videos? I use a combination of just Windows Movie Maker just to do initial editing, and then I take it into Premiere Pro. Nick, I quit singing to my cats and spent the last week practicing Hall & Oates songs. That's a lateral trade right there. Any chance you want to do a duet with me? Of course, you can be Daryl Hall, and I'll grow out my mustache and be John Oates. We'll take the show on the road, Michael. Hey, Nick, did you back Gloom of Killforth on Kickstarter? What do you think about the game, and what are your thoughts on it being an exclusive Kickstarter game? Well, I didn't know enough about that. I talked about Gloom of Killforth on my Kickstarter update, which gives me very little time to be nuanced about it. I just thought it looked like an interesting game. And I thought it was surprising that it was struggling so much, given how many similar games fund pretty easily on Kickstarter. But I thought it looks okay. I feel like there's probably too many games like that at this point. As far as it being an exclusive Kickstarter game, I didn't know that. I think that's really stupid. I've gone on record before saying that if you make your game with the idea that it is only going to be a Kickstarter exclusive game, you're setting yourself up to fail. And I've gotten blowback for that, like, well, but what do you care? What do people just want to make a limited game? What does it matter? And I'm just, well, you know what? I don't know. I can rant on and on and on about it, but I think that's a silly thing. I think it's really stupid. Why would you make that proclamation? Why would you not just say, listen, I don't know if I'm the creator of the project, just say, I don't know how well this game is going to do. We didn't make a lot of money. We barely funded. But I want the game to be successful, and hopefully, with your continued support, we'll put out expansions maybe, and we'll continue making the game. Why not just say that? Why make it I don't know the whole story, though, so I shouldn't comment. Nick, will you review the Game of Thrones LCG 2nd Edition? Sure. I'm not going out of my way to do it, though. I didn't like the first one that much, and I have so many games on my review queue that even though a Game of Thrones review could be good, other people have already done it, so I don't know. Nick, would you host a weekly board game show like Board Game Blender? We could help. No, I probably wouldn't. I've been pretty set on just having this be me, the channel, because I feel like it's better to go at my own pace, and I don't like having other people rely on me to put up their segments and things like that. And I think that Board Game Blender and Board Game Breakfast do a very good job in and of themselves. I wouldn't want to hone in on that territory. There's only so many. Now listen, I love you guys, but there's only so many good content creators out there. There's a lot of content creators, but not too many that are like. Let me put it this way. I think the best will rise to the top, and I think the best are already on Breakfast and Blender. How about that? Nick, could you elaborate on your comment last week about your feud with Robert Burke? Did I make a comment last week about it? I don't even remember. My girlfriend has kickstarted 2 of his games and says, I'm sorry, my nose is all stuffed up. 2 of his games and says he comes across as a perfectionist, which would make him a nightmare to deal with. I don't know what I said last week. The guy had a serious issue with my review of Operation Faust, which I thought was an okay game. I just didn't particularly like it very much. I thought my review was very fair and even-handed, and the guy went nuts on me, right? And he has a history of doing this sort of thing. He blew up on some other reviewers before. He I've heard from a couple of publishers after this happened with me. A couple of publishers contacted me that I'm friends with on Facebook and said, "Yeah, we've dealt with him too. Yes, this is what he's like." And also, he had an incident where like he was not going to fulfill some backer rewards for some created backer cards for that stupid, very mediocre game Battle for Souls, and he was like refusing to do it, and those backers were like, "No, we pledged for this. Give us our rewards." And he was freaking out and made a big public spectacle on a thread on Board Game Geek about it. So, yeah, the guy's kind of loony. I feel stupid even engaging with him because it's like engaging with a child. I don't know. Let's see. Also, he hasn't come up... fine, I'll just go ahead and do it. He hasn't come up with an original design yet. I think he's kind of a hack designer. I mean, I think that he... let's see. Battle for Souls is just poker? Two-player poker? You're making, poker sets with public domain artwork, and Operation Faust is coup with a bunch of extra crap that no one asked for. So you're getting up at 3 a.m. Are you a robot? Anyway, us Australians appreciate it. I am not a robot, but I'm usually up this late anyways, so I felt like, who cares? Although in this particular case, last night I only had like 2 hours of sleep. But to be fair, that was 2 hours of sleep after the previous 2 nights where I was sick, where I got a lot of sleep. So kind of made up for it, maybe. But I'm still in the deficit of sleep. But I did get home tonight, ran a couple of errands, and then fell asleep for like 4 hours. So I needed a little bit of a boost. Favorite tabletop role-playing games? Well, I played D&D 3rd edition and 4th edition, and 4th edition was okay, but 3rd edition I still have a fond spot in my heart for. I liked Shadowrun quite a bit. I didn't play it nearly as much as I wanted to. I liked the new Star Wars RPG from Fantasy Flight. I played the Edge of the Empire subset of it, and I thought it was very fun. What else have I played? I love Exalted. I love World of Darkness. I like the White Wolf games because I think the White Wolf games... The problem with White Wolf games are that they are too open-ended at times. They're a little bit too much about role-playing, which sounds ridiculous for a role-playing game, right? But I like structure and boundaries and rules. It's one of the things that led me into getting more into board games than tabletop RPGs. And the White Wolf systems are like just very, very free-form with their whole dot system. It's just like, here's general guidelines for your character, the rest is up to you, which I appreciate in a certain sense. In some ways I don't. But what I love about the White Wolf games is, unequivocally, is how they handled morality in their games, which I thought was much, much better and more nuanced than was ever handled in any like Dungeons and Dragons RPG I ever played. Dungeons and Dragons is just like, you're lawful good, you're neutral, you're evil, and most people just ignore that crap. And most DMs will not even bother to keep track of it after like the first couple of sessions. Whereas in World of Darkness, especially for the base, like the new World of Darkness setting, they had a very definite morality sequence, and how that worked. It's kind of difficult to explain, but it's like you're at a certain number from like 0 to 9 or something, right? Or maybe it's not. I think it's like 0 to 9, and you start off at like 6. It's like a normal human being. And next to the numbers on this chart will be like sins, right? Like bad things that you might do. And it might be like stealing, right? So if you're at 6, if you steal, that would be a sin for your morality level, which means that then you have to make a check to see if you slide down the track of morality. And every time you slide down the track of morality, you might actually gain like a neuroses affliction. It might just be a minor thing at first, right? It might just be like you get a little OCD, something like that, right? But as it gets worse, you might gain like major mental afflictions as your morality continues to backslide. Also, it's possible for you to go up the track and gain better morality, but when you do, the sins that might cause you to plummet down the track get less. Meaning, like, if I get to morality of 8, if I lie, if I just tell a lie, I might be in danger of sliding back down the morality track. Whereas if you're at the top of the morality track, if you think an envious thought, you may slide back down. I found that to be very, very fascinating. And the fact that, I can go on about this for hours, by the way. The fact that different supernatural entities that you may play as in the World of Darkness had different morality tracks. Humans and vampires had the same morality track, right? Because vampires are just like echoes of human souls, right? But werewolves once they become werewolves and gain that template, their set of standards for morality are different than humans. They don't necessarily lose morality for killing a human, only if they kill a human unnecessarily. You know, anytime that a human kills a human, even if it's in self-defense, their morality might slip. If a werewolf kills a human in self-defense, whatever. I found that super interesting. Even mages had wisdom, is what their version of morality was called. And that was a bit different as well, because they held themselves above humans. I love that stuff. And Exalted, every Exalted had, they were afflicted by some, the world of Exalted, you're like demigods. It's very difficult to explain. But every Exalted was afflicted by something called the Great Curse, and it caused, especially the Solar Exalted, who are the main characters of that universe, they were prone to having their greatest passions become their greatest weakness and just go off the rails and start to slip into insanity. Sort of. That's kind of an extreme way to say it. But for instance, so you have different virtues to start off the game with, right? Like compassion and it's like compassion and wisdom and stuff like that you could put ranks into. And you would choose one as your main thing. And let's say that compassion was your primary trait, morality trait. If you saw, let's say you're on an undercover mission, and you see like some slaver beating his slaves while you're on this undercover mission, right? If you were to fail the mission, or if you were to blow your cover to stop him, you would blow the entire mission, and many more people may suffer and die. So you can't do that. But make a check in order to resist intervening, because it's going against your morality, because you're like, I can't watch this injustice and let it happen. So if you make that check and you succeed on the check, you rationalize it to yourself, right? If you fail the check, you start losing, I forget what the stat is called. It's like this central stat, like clarity or something. And if you lose too much of that, you will become completely beholden to your one trait. You will, you'll basically go slightly insane based on that one trait. So if it's compassion, you might just revert into like some quivering mess of like sobbing about all the injustice of the world. It's super interesting, all right? And I just love the way that White Wolf handles that stuff. What are we doing here? Oh, Q&A. Sorry. I love talking about role-playing games. I'm planning a trip for... Wow, Bill Nye himself. I'm planning a trip for South Florida. Other than the theme parks, what other places are good to check out flying into Fort Lauderdale? Well, while you're down here and you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, you might as well go to cool stuff. Actually, the cool stuff down here is rather boring to just walk into, but there is a monthly meetup there with Tom Vassel's group, and some people from his group have weekly meetups there. Let's see, other stuff down south. There's a Boomers in Fort Lauderdale that has a roller coaster, although I've never actually been to it. There's not a ton of really fun stuff down here. For me, there's the beach. Honestly, and I hate to say this, you're asking the wrong person, because I don't do much down here in Florida. Orlando's. If I want to have like fun activities, Orlando's where I go to. What did you do with the blank cards in Legendary Secret Wars? I think I threw them away. I either threw them away or they're just sitting in the box. I sleeved all of my Legendary, so I don't have a lot of room. Nick, are you looking forward to Ghostbusters by Cryptozoic? I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to it. I'll try it. I'll play it. I think it's probably going to be Zombicide with Ghostbusters. What is the top 5 artwork in a board game? You mean like individual games that have the best artwork? Seasons is definitely up there. It's one of the reasons I love Seasons so much. Dixit has, depending on the different strokes for different folks. There's different artists to contribute to Dixit, but they're all, I think even like the Dixit art I like the least, which is probably the artist who's doing the art for And We Hold Hands, and Then We Hold Hands, that game on Kickstarter. Even that's good. It's not bad. So I'd say Dixit overall has a fantastic artwork. Imperial Settlers. I'm just looking at my shelf again. That's what I typically do when I'm running out of ideas. Kingdom Death, by the way. I know I keep going on and on and on about this, but Kingdom Death Monster has some of the best, most thought-provoking, horrifying, disturbing, but ultimately quality artwork I've ever seen. By the way, a lot of you are saying some very kind words, and I really thank you a lot. I'm not going to comment on all of them because then I'll seem like a horrific narcissist, but I thank you very much for all of those comments. Do you have to try to collect the Marvel Legendary cards from the Marvel 3D packs? If you're asking if I feel compelled to, no. As far as I know, those are just alt art cards, and if that's the case, I don't care at all. Even if they're like unique cards with game stuff, I only have so much time and effort to spend. I can't wait to watch these tomorrow. I don't blame you. It's okay. Hey, Nick, do you like Seven Wonders? I was thinking of getting the game, but are there any expansions you recommend getting with the base game? I'm coming around on Seven Wonders. I was not the biggest fan, which is surprising because I like card drafting games a lot. It seems to be up my alley. But I've always had a tough time getting into that game. I've probably played it 4 times now, maybe 5 times. I've played it quite a bit because it's just a very popular game. From the beginning of my game group, people have always had it and brought it, and whenever people will be like, "Hey, let's have 7 people play Seven Wonders." I'm like, "Well, there's 7 of us," and everyone's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Well, what do I do to sit here?" Which I did one time. One time I was just like, "I'm not playing. I'm gonna go get ready for tomorrow," which was really weird. So, but the thing is, I just think it's okay. And the theme is not there. The iconography is a bit off-putting. I've actually done pretty well in the game when I've played, so it's not because I'm bad at it. It's just because it's just not my thing. But it's grown on me a bit. I played it with the Babel expansion. I don't know if we played it with both parts of the expansion or not. It's modular. There's 2 different main parts of that expansion. But I thought it was enjoyable, but it's still just okay. So I don't know what I would recommend getting with it. I think the Babel expansion is probably the most fun I had. The Leaders expansion was just alright for me because I did try it with that as well. His follow-up is, have you played the Seven Wonders Duel yet? Any thoughts on it? No. My rep at Asmodee couldn't get a copy of that for me, unfortunately. But I'd like to play that. I think that one might be, based on what I've read about it, and the fact that it's only 2-player and it might be faster, I think I might like that better than the base game. Nick, do you like anime more than comic book superhero movies or TV shows? Yeah, I would say so overall. But it's just been easier for me to watch, superhero movies because I've seen like in TV shows because they come out weekly and it's like an obvious thing that I like. But with anime, there's so much out there and I'm so far behind on it that it feels kind of overwhelming. Try Exploding Kittens yet? No, I did buy it from Target just because I might as well review it. It's really expensive. It's $20 for each set of Exploding Kittens, the base set and the Not Safe for Work set, and I feel stupid for buying the Not Safe for Work set because it looked like the exact same game. But it's like $20, a small box, very few cards. What the hell? I was really shocked by that. And while I was at Target, I looked on Amazon like, oh, it must be cheaper on Amazon. No, it's the same price. They're like price controlling it. So I don't know what's up with that. The same way the Cards Against Humanity does it. Oh, boy. You mentioned previously doing 5K races. What was your PB? I don't know what that stands for. Maybe that was a test. Let me see. I don't know. You have to clarify that. My brain is not working properly right now, so I don't know what PB is. Oh, personal best. Thank you, brain, for finally working. I can't remember. I know I had a time once. I know I had less than 20 minutes, which is not great for most people, but was good for me. I don't remember, though. I can actually look up my times. No, I'm not going to do that right now. Hi, Nick. Have you played Wiz War, or is it too lucky for your taste? If you mean too random, yeah. I played it once, quite a while ago, very late at night. Someone else taught me the game. Not the perfect situation. And I didn't like it very much. Also, I got eliminated very early in it, which was very frustrating. So maybe I need to play it again, but it didn't seem like it really grabbed me. Nowadays, I've played so many games, you have to grab me right away. Have you played Dark Gothic? If you're really obsessed with Dark Gothic, if so, what do you think? By the way, thanks for doing this Q&A. You're welcome. Excuse me. I have played it. I wasn't a fan of it with my one play, but I did buy the expansion. I will try it with the expansion. But so far, it feels like it is really going out of its way to mimic Ascension, and it's a mixture of like Ascension and DC Comics deck building game, with a couple of added elements that are alright, but it felt very anticlimactic. It felt like when one player gets ahead, they really get ahead, like it snowballs, and it just didn't feel like it was that exciting. I got Eldritch Horde and Forsaken Lore, and I wonder if you can recommend me my next expansion, or should I wait for Under the Pyramids? Well, I want to say get the Mountains of Madness, because it's a huge expansion. There's a lot of stuff in it. But it depends if you want to go that far into it. If you are worried, a lot of people are worried about the expansion creep in Eldritch Horror. Like too much stuff, too much for you to actually handle or to ever play. If you're worried about that, like some people are, then skip Mountains of Madness for now. And I would actually go with the latest one, which was Strange Remnants, which has a lot of cool stuff in it. Despite being another small box expansion. But I wouldn't wait for Under the Pyramids, because who knows when that's coming out, given that it's Fantasy Flight, and I don't know. If you're going to wait for Under the Pyramids, then get Mountains of Madness. Both big box expansions. Alright, we're back to where we started. My nose is all stuffed up. I'm still getting over being sick. I'm mostly over it, but... What are some good anime for people that don't like anime? I want to try to draw my girlfriend in, but slowly. Well, I actually think that my top 10 anime list that I did, my optional variant series that never went anywhere, had more like gateway anime than I was suspecting. Because that's kind of what I was drawn into. I still am not like as hardcore an otaku as a lot of other people are. So I was more into like general stuff that was reminiscent maybe of Western fantasy novels and movies that I was into. So that's a good reference point. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood has never failed to work with every person I've shown it to. Every ex-girlfriend I've shown it to. Death Note, as long as they're into something that's a little bit dark, because it feels like watching an American TV show or movie. It has to be. You have to determine what she's into. Is she into sci-fi or fantasy? If she's not even into those, you have a tougher time. But you can find, like dramas and stuff that might be okay. If she is into sci-fi or fantasy, then again, refer to my list, because that's a lot of stuff there. Vision of Escaflowne, Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion. Berserk's probably a harder sell. Gurren Lagann, if she's okay with goofy stuff. What did I just watch? Attack on Titan is pretty stellar. I mean, it's got a lot of action, excitement, good story. It's very gruesome. So again, gauge her reaction to that, because not everyone's okay with gore. But those are some good starting points. Nick, have you seen, and what do you think of Shut Up and Sit Down? I have seen a little bit of what they do. I'm not a fan. I know I don't want to like critique other critics. I'm not a fan of their commentary, their style, their format. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of what they do. I think they're very, well, I'm not even getting into it. I just don't like them. So, how do you schedule and produce your game reviews? You post so frequently, I'd assume you'd be exhausted. Does this leave time for recreational games, or are they far and few between review titles? I would say my recreational game time is probably much, much less and pales in comparison to what I have to do as far as reviews, which is a shame, but that's not to say that I still don't play games for fun. That still happens all a bit, and I have fun playing games for review, so there is that. It's hard to complain about it. As far as like my schedule, I try to do 4 at least reviews a week. 6 at the most, because more than that is just going to kill me. As well as other content like this. I have to do the Kickstarter update every week. Now the weekend review I have to do every week, which it's a burden. It's tough to do those. And I do those, but I do those for promotion, and it's necessary, I think. And it's one of the things that gives me an edge of other people in the business. And yeah, I would say 4 to 6 reviews a week I try to do just to keep pace. I mean, I have so many reviews. Even honestly, under that, I'm still getting buried under games that I have to review. So, but right now, I would say my primary issue is not. It's not having games to review. It's not having the time to review them, although that's an issue, but that's not as bad. The main issue is having the time to play them. I don't even have a lot of time to play the review titles that I have because my group has been very erratic lately, and because I want to play games multiple times before I review them, that really requires me to have multiple days a week in order to keep pace, and that's tough to do. Especially since a lot of people in my group don't want to play a game multiple times. They want to move on to something else. I wish I could go blow my nose. Nick, did you know today, meaning today, or last night, is National Batman Day? Do you have anything in mind to do today? I am going to... I like to do a very subdued Batman celebration on Batman Day. I will typically just ponder in quiet introspection alone in the corner, or possibly in the fetal position in my bathtub. What's a theme you'd like to see in a game that you haven't seen yet? Let's see. I like the idea of being a therapist. I wonder if that could be interesting. That might be a good theme to do. Maybe do like an Inside Out type thing, that Pixar movie, going through people's emotions, if you want to put a fantasy spin on it. I haven't seen it explored too much, but the idea of going into people's dreams and nightmares, kind of like a Psychonauts type thing, that might be interesting. Being an assassin, that hasn't come up too much, but that's more of like that might be, I always actually thought that would be a really good single player game, being an assassin like Assassin's Creed. Like a solo hostage negotiator type game. How's your cold? Not too great. Nah, my head's really stuffed up right now. Nick, I was wondering your thoughts between the Superman versus Batman debate. I love both characters, but I prefer Superman since I respect what he stands for and like his whole character. Your opinion. While I'm pondering that, I'm scrolling down to make sure nothing's going horribly wrong with the feed. All right, so back to your question. I much prefer Batman of the two. I think Batman being closer to human, although let's be very honest here. Most of what Batman does is still superhuman. But the fact that he is at least nominally a human and doing what he can with human resources and know-how and skill, and the fact that he does have this sort of tortured personality and is on the boundaries of, well, I'd like to say he's on the boundaries of good and evil, although the fact that he doesn't kill people pretty firmly puts him in the camp of goody-goody and also stupid, which has always bothered me about both of those characters. Is like, you know what? How many thousands of people has the Joker killed, and how many times has he killed people because he escaped from Arkham, and you grab him and put him back, he escapes again, he kills more people. Okay. But I still think I like Batman better. Superman is just he's too strong. They have to come up with wacky things to put him in danger. Like his mind is controlled, or Mr. Mixelplick, tricks him, and all this stuff. And I just think it's kind of silly. And like everything around the DC universe pivots on him. Like, oh, if only we could rescue Superman from his magical bonds, then he could just destroy all these villains that are assaulting us. And I just think like he's not a very interesting character. So that's just me though. Morning from Wales. Good morning. What game do you wish more people would be into? Which one do you want to preach to everyone because it gives you so much joy? It's 8 a.m. here. Let's see. Which game do I wish people were more into? There's so many games, and I don't feel like I need to, evangelize, a certain game too much. I guess I wish that people were a little more into like Super Dungeon Explorer. I think like that's kind of been fading into obscurity. Zombie 15. I mean, I'm just looking at my shelf again. There's a lot of games that are definitely underserved that I love, but then again, it's my personal taste, and I've been told before that I'm wrong. So, but I would say there's always a game in need of some love. I think it's cool when people adopt a game and they're like the primary, like champion of it. Maybe I'll say Heart of Crown. Although I think Heart of Crown, when it gets its Kickstarter from Japan Made Games, is like everyone's gonna love it. So that it won't be my thing anymore. Did you ever play Scion from White Wolf? I bought the book and never played it. I thought it was interesting. Scion is that you are like descendants of gods, but in modern day. So like Exalted, you're like you have essence of the gods, but it's like in a fantasy world. But in Scion, it's in the modern day, and it's almost like American Gods from Neil Gaiman, where or Gaiman, I never had to pronounce that, where you're like you have the blood of ancient Egyptian gods or the blood of the Norse gods, things like that. But I thought it was interesting. I just never got a chance to play it. Hey Nick, what are your top 3 favorite games of 2015 so far? No way I can answer that. I was thinking the other day like how tough it's going to be for me to do my top 10 of 2015 because there's a lot of great games. I mean, some of the ones I can mention, Elysium is amazing, Spectre Ops. Again, I'm looking on my shelf for inspiration. Forbidden Stars. Alchemist, was that this year or was that the end of last year? I can't remember, but that's awesome. Magic Arena of the Planeswalkers. What did I just play? That Cheng Huang game is pretty awesome. I haven't played it yet, but Kingdom Death Monster might be in the running. So there's too much to say right now. It's going to be a tight race for sure. I was wondering if you have watched Vikings, the TV series, and if you have, what do you think about it? I like it, and I find it funny that the Canadians' view of my country's story, because his name is Henrik Madsen, so it sounds like he's from Scandinavia. I have not watched it. I've heard good things about it. I would say it's on my list of things to watch eventually, but I would imagine it's very dramatized compared to what really happened. But that's fine. Another Shut Up and Sit Down question. What are your thoughts on the review style of Shut Up and Sit Down? Did you see their tips for top 5 problem players? I did not see that. I'm not a fan, so I don't watch their stuff. But I know, by the way, that they're extremely popular. So, you always take shots at the people above you. But I'm not really intending to. I'm just not a fan personally. Wow, 30 people watching. I don't think there's really 30 people watching when I do these at normal times. I'm very happy about that, actually. By the way, I should mention, I probably won't do this weekly, but I think I want to do a Q&A weekly. Maybe I will do this time bi-weekly, and in between we'll do the normal time at like 9 p.m. I think that's fair, right? Who would you say are the cream of the crop in your field, game reviewers, and what sets them apart? Well, I guess it sounds cliche at this point, but Vassal really is, I think, the best reviewer out there. What sets him apart? And, obviously I've been inspired by him. I think I do some things differently as far as my commentary and what I talk about and how I go at a game. The format of my reviews is based off of what he does, and I think it's a stellar way to do the review. It's simple, it's to the point, it's direct. Talk a little bit about the game, show the game, give your reviews on it. It's a solid format. It works. The same way that late night television show hosts follow the same format, because for the most part it works with some variation. Okay, my videos are a little bit longer. I talk a little bit more in depth in my final thoughts, but it's a solid format, and I think that he was the originator of that format, although he would probably say he gained that from Scott Nicholson. But more to the point of what sets him apart, he keeps his videos short, something I need to probably take some advice on. He is very succinct, he is very opinionated, he is passionate. He will tell you himself that is what makes a reviewer good. Being passionate about the topic. There are a lot of reviewers out there, A lot of people who have the will and the drive to make reviews, but when they get in front of the camera, they're just like, today we are reviewing this game, and it is very good, and I really enjoy it, and it has these mechanisms, and it has a card drafting mechanism, and I think that it is very well done. It was just like in this other game, and they don't have the... That's another thing, a component of it too, is having presence. You know, I don't think I'm like a fantastic showman, but I think that I am passionate about what I do. I put it into my speech. I enunciate. I speak fairly good, well, and so I think those are all important things, and I think that people like Vassal and some of the people that he has chosen to have on his channel, like Z Garcia, and like Dan King, formerly of the Dice Hour, now on his own, another person I really respect. I think that those people really get it, as far as like, it's not just about getting up there and monotonally mentioning the game, it's being passionate and enthusiastic about it. Have you played much Kingdom Death yet? How about Zero? I've had no time to do it, and I have to still assemble some of the basic miniatures. I'm pondering whether I want to take it to my group tomorrow night. Well, tonight, technically. I have so many other things to review already, and it's going to be a beast. And I'm wondering if I should just do it solo. In fact, I think now that I'm saying it out loud, I am probably going to do it solo exclusively and try to do an entire campaign until I die horribly, and then do an initial review of it, making that fact plainly evident. These are my initial thoughts based off of a solo play, and what I want to do, if I enjoy the game, listen, that's still in question. Honestly, I don't know. If I enjoy the game, I would expect that if I can get some people together that will want to do it, I will play it during the 24-hour Extra Life Marathon. A lot. That might be a very cool thing to do. Kill two birds with one stone. What is your game of the year so far? No way of knowing. We'll go ahead and say it is the Versus system. Oh, I'm sorry. Favorite game of the year. Did you know you have Mexican fans? I do now. Thank you very much, Mariano. What house do you... I probably would have guessed that, though. What house do you think you would be in if you were in Game of Thrones? I'm probably more of an opportunistic sleazeball than I realize, given my... you know, if I didn't have the luxuries that I have, so probably Lannisters. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'd want to be in I'd want to be in House Stark because I'm practical, I think. Practical and rational and realistic about life. At least I am now. I have a board game addiction. I am running out of room in my house. Any suggestions for stopping the madness? Yeah, get rid of games. It's harder to tell you to stop getting games because I know that's like an overwhelming thing. And maybe you should work on that too. But you should definitely start getting rid of some. You don't need that many games. Trust me, it's something I'm coming to grips with. If you have a game that is a certain type of game, it fits a niche, and you're like, well, when I'm playing whatever it might be, card drafting games, these are the one or two games we always play, not so much these other ones, get rid of those other ones. You don't need them. Are you a collector? Or are you a gamer? You can be both, and that's fine. But if you're more of a gamer than a collector, get rid of them. Are you going to make a video that goes through your thought process for reorganizing your shelves when you finally get around to putting the new ones up? I don't know about like going through my thought process because I don't have a lot of thoughts about it, although I should, I guess, think about it. But I'll definitely do a video showing off my collection, not because I really want to that badly, but it is one of the most requested things that people have asked for on the channel. So I'll do it. And at the same time, I'll show off some of the artwork in my man cave. My entire apartment is my man cave since I'm single. Have you played Super Munchkin, and do you like the Munchkin games? No and no. So actually, the second answer answers the first one. Have you played Blood Rage? No. I believe that Kickstarter backers got royally screwed in the entire Blood Rage fiasco. A select few people, including a lot of reviewers, got a hold of copies at Gen Con, and they have been, acting like it's like the B's and E's and that it is widely available, when the people who actually made the game possible, quote unquote, obviously it's just a pre-order system at this point, have not been able to play it, which I think is really awful. Hey Nick, who are your favorite game designers? Oh, well, quite a few. Antoine Bauza, Eric Lang. I'm just spouting. I don't want to exclude anyone, but these are the first people that come to mind. So Antoine Bauza, Eric Lang, Emerson Matsuchi. A lot of that. Emerson does some really great games, but he's also a friend of mine, so I want to mention him. Bruno Cathala, Rob Davio, Martin Wallace. These are all great designers. Richard Garfield. I don't know. I'm struggling here. Corey Kaniska is an unsung hero because he does so many things exclusively for Fantasy Flight that a lot of people just say, oh, that's a Fantasy Flight game, and they don't really give props to the designers too much. But Corey Kaniska has had a hand in some of the biggest hits from Fantasy Flight. Descent, Battlestar Galactica, Forbidden Stars. Stefan Feld is a great designer. That's a pretty solid list right there. What is the worst game of the year so far? Well, I've played some really atrocious games. I don't know. I really thought Versus System was bad. But that's just the most recent bad game. Well, really bad game I've played. I don't know. Anything that's really bad is not in my collection already. What did I really hate? What else did I just play that I really hated? Oh, I don't know. My brain's not working right now. I've played some really bad games. Nick, did you ever watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Or play the card game? It was one of my favorite anime besides Dragon Ball Z. I did watching anime to a point, and then as I got a little bit older, I realized it was just too annoying. And then I didn't really play the card game, but I collected it for a while. It was cool. But now I would be hard pressed to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I will check the daily sale on cool stuff, and they'll always have Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards for sale, right? Singles. And I'll just be curious and read them. The text on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards is so small, and there are paragraphs and paragraphs of it. How do kids play that game? I don't even understand it. All right, what is your favorite gaming memory? Whenever I think about that, it's usually like trader games where it's just like a tremendous amount of fun. I think about like times I played Shadows over Camelot and it was just awesome because it was very interactive and social with friends. Yeah, things like that. Have you read the Walking Dead comics or do you enjoy the TV show? I love the show. Even in its down points, I still think it's a pretty solid show. And I've started reading like the collected compendium of like the first compendium up to like the point they're in the prison, and I just stopped. It's just not that great. I think the comic book is actually inferior to the TV show. What is Blood Rage most similar to? I haven't played it, so I can't say for sure, but it seems like it's most similar to a game like Cyclades. And what should I get next? Orleans, Blood Rage, or 504? I have not played 504. I have not played Blood Rage, so I feel unqualified to answer this question. I know that Orleans is a fantastic game, so I would say that even if Blood Rage or 504 are amazing, you can't go wrong with Orleans, but I can't really speak to those games. Well, I'm so happy I got so many questions, guys. Thank you so much, guys and gals. Whenever I say guys, I mean the collective guys, men and women. Did you play Resident Evil deck building game? I played it one time, was not a huge fan of it, but as I got more into the hobby and started enjoying deck building games more, I decided that I wanted to try it again. I saw that it was out of print and some of it was hard to find, so I've been collecting it steadily, and eventually I'll play it. Hey Nick, your thoughts on the new Catacombs? How about Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective? Well, that's an interesting story. As far as Catacombs, I think it looks pretty interesting. I'll probably get a copy eventually when it hits retail. I'm a little bummed that there's so many Kickstarter exclusives that I'll never get, but whatever. And Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. So I've owned that game for probably 5 or 6 months and haven't played it yet because it's a solo game. Hard for me to find the time to do that by myself, but I do want to really play it. But I was supposed to get a copy of Shakespeare from my rep at Asmodee, and they accidentally sent me another copy of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. And the only rationale, that just happened today, by the way, the only rationale I can find for it is that they're both from Istari, and they both start with SH. So whoever was down in storage just like grabbed it. So I'm a little bummed by that. But I will hopefully play it and review it soon because it looks really interesting and no one else is really talking about it. Nick, I would love to see Tom's top 100 with you sitting next to him, giving him grief. Any chance that'll ever happen? I actually think that would be a great thing to do. I was thinking about how cool it would be if we could both sit in on each other's top 100s. I don't think that that's something Tom would want to do. I think it would be a lot of fun. I think that I wouldn't just give him garbage the way that the other guys do. I think I could give him some cogent points, but and I also think that we probably share a lot of likes and dislikes on our list, but I don't know. I don't think that's something he's interested in doing. I don't think it would benefit him much, especially to sit in on mine. But vice versa, maybe he would. He always wants to change things up a bit and not do the same thing. So maybe next year. Actually, I think it was more likely next year he'd have like Jason. But it's a good idea. I had that thought too. What has been the most frustrating gaming moment you've ever had? Frustrating. There's been a few situations where I'm like, I've had problem people in my game group who just love to be agents of chaos in games and not play optimally just to screw with people. I remember there was a game of Mage Knight, the board game, early on where someone was like purposely screwing me over because he couldn't win and was just like, well, I have to randomly choose who to screw over and it's going to be you. I was so infuriated with that person. But he was a person that it was easy to get infuriated with him. Do you play Hearthstone? If so, how much do you hate Patron Warrior and Secrets Paladin? I have no idea what you're talking about. No, I know what Hearthstone is. I played it briefly. I didn't like it, so I don't know what those cards are. Ever read the Battle Royale manga? I stole my buddy's years ago and have yet to get into it. The movie was great. The sequel was horrible. I have not seen the movie or read the manga. I know what the premise is. I know that it's essentially the basis for the Hunger Games, but I don't know. Never got into it. Are you live streaming Pandemic Legacy? I don't know about that. I think that Tom's already jumped on that. He's not going to live stream it, but he recorded all of his plays. I will definitely play it and give a review. I don't know if I'm going to live stream it, though. It'd be great to do it. But the thing is, there's no way I could do it all in one sitting the same way we did with Risk Legacy, because it's going to be like up to 24 games, which is crazy. What do you think about people trying to make Pandemic Legacy without the Legacy part in the BGG forums? I haven't seen that. I assumed people would do that. I think they're idiots. I think they're idiots who... I really do. I really think it's a stupid thing to do. I think a lot of people will say, if you don't play this game this way, you're ruining the game. In most cases, 9 out of 10 times, I think that's a stupid way to look at it. You can play the game however you want. And these people can play the game however they want. But I think you are essentially killing a huge part of the game. And I don't know why you would want to do that. Why would you want to play the game? Just play Pandemic. A basic Pandemic game. And keep your precious components perfect forever. You know? Wrap them in plastic like an old person puts plastic on furniture. It does seem like there's only 2 people asking questions right now. I should ignore your questions. I'm just kidding. But I'm going to have a hard out at 4 a.m., I think. What's your favorite game to play solo? I like Friday a lot for that, and I also like Eldritch Horror. Are you in a math trade right now? Nope. It's too busy for that. I probably may never get into another one. Do you think we'll see an expansion for the excellent Zaya? that Sam and Z are totally wrong about? Yeah, we will. I know that he's doing the second printing of the base game, and I know that he already has plans and he's released concept art for the expansion. He'll do it. I think it's popular enough, and because he can just use Kickstarter, it'll happen. Especially if during the Kickstarter he lets people get the base game again. Do you know if some popular designers use mathematical algorithms to create board games, or do they go by instinct or trial and error? I don't know about algorithms, but maybe they do. Maybe some Eurogamers do. But a lot of them probably go by instinct, especially if they are well-known designers who have produced a lot of games. Who is your least favorite designer? Not going to go there. Even if they're my least favorite, they're probably somebody's favorite. Where in the world do you most want to travel? That's a good question. Probably Ireland. What is your board game design pet peeve? Pet peeve. I will say fiddliness. Too many tokens or cards when you don't need to do that. Keep things simple. Blood Rage is a remake of Midgard. Not quite. I think there are some significant differences between the two, but I understand what you mean. They're from the same designer. If you had to fuse yourself with one other game reviewer and form a super reviewer, who would that be? Probably Z, because you have a man crush on him. I don't know why you say that. Why do you think I have a man crush on him? I like Z quite a bit, but okay, whatever. But no. Wouldn't you want to get someone else's perspective? Like, I think that Z and I have some common tastes in games, but I think it'd be nice to get someone like a completely different perspective. So I'd probably fuse with like a female reviewer or something. Do you play in any local game store tournaments? No, I don't do tournaments. What are some board game pet peeves you have when you play with a gaming group? I hate it when people will act like, this is overwhelming, I can't understand what you're saying. Like, you're explaining the rules and they're just like, And a lot of these times, especially I'm thinking of one person in particular, they're refusing to learn. They're like, oh, you started reading? Well, I can't understand it like that. You're just going to have to show me. No, listen and pay attention, and you will find out how to play the game. I also hate it when couples team up with each other. I hate it when, or even when it's just someone asking someone else for help perpetually, constantly. And it's like, you know what? You're a smart person. You could have figured this out by now. You just don't want to do it on your own because you're afraid of failing. Pet peeves of mine. Any suggestions to get someone to enjoy board games with direct conflict? That's a tough one. That's like a deal breaker for a lot of people. It's because some people just don't like conflict. They just don't like aggression and having stuff taken away or taking away other people's stuff. They don't like hurt feelings. I would say definitely just set the expectation that we're going into this game. We're going to be fighting constantly. It's just going to happen. You know, everyone just... no hard feelings here. Just try to have a good time. If they can't get into it then, I don't know what else to say. All right, we're going to end it very soon. What do you think of Epic Card Game? Do you think it has a bright future? I haven't played it yet, so I don't know. I just started playing Darkest Night, and it is cool. And by cool, I mean totally sweet. What's the best soundtrack for it? I don't typically play soundtracks, but I would say any kind of like... dark, go to like Pandora and do like dark spooky themes. It's a necromancer dropping blights around the world. Alright, some of you guys just asking really weird questions. Have you tried Tabletopia? Nope, not really interested. Looking into Legendary, what would you suggest based on gameplay? Predator, Alien, or Marvel? Marvel or Alien? I was just filling in blanks there. Based on gameplay, it really depends on what you like. If you like purely cooperative gameplay and you like the Aliens theme, go with Alien. If you're okay with semi-cooperative gameplay and you like Marvel superheroes, go with Marvel. They're very different in regards to theme. What happened to the Board Game Blender segment? Time. I just didn't have the time to put together another segment during the week. I felt like Kickstarter Update was on a more popular show and should be my focus because it's all for promotion, right? And also, I gotta admit, I was getting kind of sick of the fans of the Dice Tower giving me grief whenever I said anything, even slightly like joking or insulting. It's just like, give me a break. Some of the jokes and comments that I would make on the Dice Tower that people like were like, what a jerk, I can't believe he said that, would be like things, if I said them to my friends, would like not even bat an eye, you know? And it's just like, where were these people raised? I don't understand. So you don't bust chops with your friends. So I was getting a little annoyed with that, right? Like, I don't really listen to people that much. Like, I just do what I want to do, and but at a certain point, I'm just like, why am I constantly having to explain myself? Why is it that I make this funny reference at the start of the video saying like, welcome to the what was the name of my segment again? It was Diary of a Kickstarter Addict, and I was like, where I talk about all the problems that only a white middle-class American male could possibly understand, which was a joke based on the fact that white middle-class American males live in, for the most part, even poor ones, live in the lap of luxury compared to other races, ethnicities, and people with serious problems, and these are the kind of like bullshit things that we can worry about, Kickstarter projects, right? That was the joke. People were like, oh, so I guess only white people can enjoy Kickstarter games? I'm like, oh. And I was just so infuriated with stuff like that. Like, it was just like, who is my audience? Like, who are the people that are watching this? Do I even want to try to appeal to those people? So I was getting very upset with things like that. But for the most part, it was just time. I would have kept doing it if I had more time and if just to stick it to them. And Z keeps asking me, anytime you want to jump back in, it's fine, because he really liked my segment. And to be honest, his was the only opinion that actually mattered. The same way that, like, when people get upset with anything I say in my Kickstarter update, I'm just like, well, Tom liked it. Tom put it on the air. That's all I care about. So that's a very long-winded answer to your question. Nick, due to your background in Magic the Gathering, what was your favorite card of all time? I really like the Elder Dragon cards, and I like the Chromium card, but it's completely stupid and awful. What game would you like to see become a legacy game? Eldritch Horror would have been awesome as a legacy game, because it's a big, sprawling adventure game. You might as well do that. The rest of Sentinel Tactics just shipped to backers? Really? Holy crap. That's been a long time, right? Are you a fan of that game? Any plan to revisit? I was not a fan of it. I probably won't revisit it. I thought it was just okay. You mentioned last Q&A that Rado didn't like you due to something you said. Did you mean to insult? Well, I'm not going to go into it completely, but yeah, I mean, he was essentially taking Tom to task for something in one of his reviews in a way that I felt was incredibly obnoxious. So I kind of came to Tom's defense and was just like, blah, 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 blah. And in the middle of that, attacking him for that thing, I made an accusation about some of his other reviewing tactics, which I felt was accurate, but I probably shouldn't have bothered. And so, yeah, I think that, I meant to insult because I was very defensive for myself and for Tom. I saw there was a review of a game called Mexica on Watch It Played. Is that a new reprint? Yes, it is. I haven't played it, though. When will we see Kingdom Death Monster, the dice game? That'd be awesome. All right. Well, that's it. I think I'm caught up, which is great because honestly, we had a ton of questions and we had like 30 to 35 people watching at any given point, and I think that's a fantastic amount of people, and I'm very happy with that. And it's a good place to stop, I think. So thank you so much. I'm really surprised so many people were around for this, but that's part of the reason I did it, is because different people, different time, give me suggestions, give me feedback. I still need to come up with something for Patreon. Probably Sunday I'll come up with that. I keep saying that, right? But thank you so much for watching. I really enjoy my Q&As whenever I do them, and I hope you guys have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. Have a good one.